People of the internet, the Rogansphere is in trouble. And in today's video, we will be learning that the Rogansphere is quietly imploding by comedy enforcement. Like and subscribe if that's what you do. Get your coffee, get your joint, because here we go.
It was a 5 or 6 year run where everybody was on such good behavior, whether they agreed with the benevolence and they wanted to support it, or whether they were like, I want to be on good behavior and not piss these people off because then I won't get it. But it didn't matter. It worked.
Either way, it spread from there.
And people were supportive. And if you weren't supportive, you would look like a loser. Like you were like,
hey, we're all
is
cool
this
here,
asshole?
man.
And you could feel it creeping back.
I get so mad at the industry, these coward guzzling, because they're like, kill Tony. We could never have that. Oh, wait, it gets 8 million views every week?
Right.
Put it on. Let's sign a big contract. You're like, but where were you? Where's the vision?
I'm excited about that. Tires.
Soder
has no role. That makes you feel better.
Look, okay. Look, I'm going to clear something up for y'all. Trust me on this one. I know Soder, people think he should have a role. Here's the thing. Shane was a good comic. His first special, way better than the thing he released after he'd been messing with the Rogansphere. And Shane, if I'm correct, Shane is smart and learned that none of these people are funny. Not for one goddamn second. They are likable podcast hosts. I'm going to give you that. I'm very fair. I have no emotion in this. What I see is the truth and with incredible accuracy, because I'm not emotionally attached to any of this. It doesn't matter if I like something and you don't like it. Okay. So there's none of that here. It's just honest evaluation. And Shane Gillis is distancing himself. He's distancing himself from this whole thing. He don't want to bring any more trash onto his show. He don't want to do no more favors that comes at peril of his career. That's just human nature. It's all good. What up, bro? Now, if you want to roll with Shane, in Shane's mind, you have to learn how to hang. You can't be like a scrub chasing waterfalls. You know what I mean? You need to be in the game, on your game, and producing at or keeping up with Shane, right? That's how it rolls. Only the best, right? And Shane, as much as we could disagree on things about Shane right now, Shane, out of all of these guys, has the potential to be a real comedian. Like a real good comedian. Dave Chappelle recognized that. Now Shane needs to get back on his game and stop playing with the Rogansphere.
Wow, that is interesting.
He's like, I'm not on there. And I was like, okay. So we can all, it's almost smart. If you have a TV show, you take your best buddy who showed you the ropes and took you everywhere under his wing. Don't put him on.
So for the past few
hey, now we got the beef with Shane is that's starting, and Mark recognized. Honestly, I think Mark's a good guy. I think Mark would be a good friend. I think Mark would be cool to chill with. I just don't think, I think Mark's type of humor just does not, it does not translate to stand-up. And I think he's bad at stand-up. I'll say that. I'll give you that, guys. I think outside of that, Mark's cool, right? And I think Mark acts like the most normal guy out of the whole bunch. And I respect that, because a lot of those guys get that money. And you saw Joe Rogan with Andrew from Channel 5. He just became a tyrant. Get him out of here. Ah! You know? But Mark seems chill. But, you know, this is a start of some beef. And Mark recognized it.
I've started to notice a trend that kind of gave me some hope for the podcast comedy scene, because it seems like since Joe Rogan is no longer the kingmaker in comedy, a lot of comics are no longer afraid of getting on his bad side and potentially never making it on the Joe Rogan Experience. And so they're coming out and being honest about how they feel, and also calling out the nonsense going on in comedy at the moment. And honestly, it's a lot more refreshing than hearing a comedian trying hard to sound smart while repeating the same talking points that they got from Rogan. Because at this point, a lot of these podcast comedians have become so repetitive, so boring, and predictable that the show shouldn't be referred to as comedy podcast, and instead should be called what they are, a talk show on YouTube. And so in this video, we'll be going over how different comedians are handling the collapse of Joe's influence over the comedy scene, and how some of those comedians who got way too big are not really following in Joe Rogan's footsteps when it comes to paying it forward and trying to help out as many comedians as possible, especially those who helped them in the beginning. And what makes this really interesting is that we have two different perspectives. On the one hand, we have comedians who are calling things out and are not really complaining or blaming cancel culture or the haters. And on the other, we have comics who have basically made it. They got all the money and all the success a comedian could ever wish for, but they still want to be seen as greater or more important than they actually are. So let's get started.
Hey, I just want to say, look, the reason these guys aren't charitable because they know it's a sham. They know they're sham comedians. They know they're riding a gravy train, and at any moment there's going to be a hole and all the gravy's going to run out. They know this. So they're not trying to share. They're trying to stack it up. If they're smart, they stacking and saving for a rainy day because that rainy day is coming for them. You know, this is end. Like, a lot of y'all want to act like you don't see the writing on the wall. You know, like you don't see it. I know that you love these people or this or that, but they're not what they say they are. They're stealing your money. I sound crazy saying it too. Oh man.
Oh, it reminds me of the great thing that I talk about all the time. Now I have another special coming out, is the Mark Maron with David Cross, where he's like, it's going on YouTube. He's like, did you try Netflix? He's like, we tried. He's like, just put it on.
I think about that 3 times a day.
I do too. I shot a special. I spent $50,000. You got a TV network over there, whatever the it's called.
Yeah.
Put it up.
Put it up.
Who cares?
It's free. Give me like $20.
Just cover the cost.
Right.
You're giving one guy $50 million. This is already made, edited, stamped, approved, big laughs.
Yeah. I get so mad at the industry, these coward guzzling goofs, because they're like, kill Tony. We could never have that. Oh, wait, it gets 8 million views every week?
Right.
Put it on. Let's sign a big contract. You're like, but where were you? Where's the vision? Where's the, I work in TV. I know what's good. I got a sixth sense. They don't have any of that. They go, oh, it's big now? Bring it right on. In my face.
No, I had a guy say, he's like, well, we could try to do Netflix, but it's in a club. They don't really do club specials. I'm like, first of all, I think they have. Also, shouldn't that be a positive?
Oh,
hey, Netflix, you don't have any club special. Like, since when is that bad?
Yeah.
It's all... Today, folks, we're going to learn about one of life's greatest disappointment. Usually what is incredibly unfair always prevails. Then this is a paradox, but you also have to think what you think is unfair is just your perspective, right? That is it unfair? I don't know. You're biased. But I would like to say that it really is truly unfair, that it's how life is, man. Most of us just sit there and have to bite our tongue and just watch it all right in front of our face. You know what I mean?
Original. Oh, we can't have original. Whoa, we can't have a unique idea. Again, the coward.
But anyways, Netflix, take my special, please.
There you go.
But it's good. It's funny.
And then they're like, can you get out of the way? We have a actor coming in to do a comedian. I'm like, I'm here.
Right.
I'm queer. What are you doing?
Well, also, I think some of our podcast appearance may be holding us back a little bit.
Well, we do it for you guys. We're staying true and saying just for you, because we're losing acting roles.
We've done a couple of voices here or there that may have scared people away. By the way, I just made a trailer for my movie, and I put a quote from a certain comedian that I love, and then they wrote back and they're like, get that quote out of here. We're not going to sell this movie.
What?
Yeah, because it was like, I love this movie, a person. And then the distributor and the actor, and the Academy emailed me and was like, you better erase that name. You want to show this film.
How'd you get a Cosby quote?
So we replaced him with Burr. We got a Burr in there.
Oh, smart.
Now, for this one, we do have 2 different clips from the same podcast episode. The one that you just saw, and another one that we'll be playing shortly, in which both Joe List and Mark Norman call out Shane Gillis for not including Dan Soder a close friend of his on the new season of Tires, which is coming out on Netflix soon. And it is a good point. But first, I wanted to go over the idea that that Netflix is unfair or inconsistent with who they give out comedy specials out to. And although I don't fully disagree with that, I feel like at this point, most people know that that simply being on Netflix doesn't necessarily mean that you're the funniest or the best at comedy at the moment. And instead, it's more like a stamp of approval and a way to show everyone else that you're finally accepted and welcomed by Hollywood. Because, for example, back then, Netflix would actually take chances and give out comedy specials to smaller comedians. And a lot of them have continued to do Netflix specials ever since, like every other year. But then when it comes to comedians like Ari Shaffir, he did have a comedy special on Netflix, but never got another one until this year. And also, Tony Hinchcliffe did have a comedy special on Netflix, which apparently did so bad that it's been completely deleted from the entire internet. It's impossible to find. And if you look at the ratings, well, it does make sense.
So you're a pod.
So I'm just a thought out there. You look at the Rogansphere, Joe Rogan. They started as like this anti-establishment thing, right? They started like this anti-establishment thing. Then they morphed and formed, and then he became this political entity that fought to throw over the other side. And then technically you could say Rogan and his side won and overthrew the other side at this point. And now Rogan is creating the new Hollywood. And now it's doing exactly what the other Hollywood did, but just in its way. Isn't that like the crazy, unsolvable riddle of history? One man cries to overthrow the other leader, then there's just always another leader that inevitably becomes a tyrant. Is this Joe Rogan's tyrant phase? Are we about? Because here's another interesting question. Let me know your thoughts. How is Joe Rogan in the podcast world, and which has given him power in the comedy world, has held power at number one on the podcast for a very long time. And the thing is Joe Rogan stayed out of the last election, and doing so, really, he wasn't, as I would say, involved. He grew bigger and maintained, and he didn't really upset anybody. But as you could see, the effects of Joe Rogan being involved in the election directly like correlates. And the COVID stuff, as soon as he got on in a serious decline, he's lost over half his viewers, listeners, whatever you want to call it, both, right? So how does Joe Rogan act when it becomes very noticeable that he no longer has the power, the influence over these things? He's had pretty much carte blanche since like 2022, 2023. I would say he started shifting dramatically. COVID and all that, but where he just fully ran in like 2022, 2023. And he's had it since until this election, and it did not benefit him.
Caster, and did the podcast give you that boost into being able to headline? Was it the exposure from the podcast? What was it? What was it?
It takes a perfect storm. That's part of it, right? And
we watched this.
I made my own Netflix special, executive produced that, and sold it to Netflix at a time in which almost not a lot of people were getting Netflix
Was
specials.
the podcast going at that point?
Yeah. That was in 2015 I made it and sold it, and it aired January 2016. And that's back again.
It's on Netflix now, yeah?
Jesus Christ. No, I had a 2-year licensing deal.
So can people see it now anywhere?
Yeah. You can get it on Amazon or iTunes or...
What's it called?
One Shot. It's all my first jokes. All the first material that I wrote.
Your first material.
Yeah, my first special.
Which was 3 years after you made it.
And also Andrew Schulz
Do you notice? I would like to say, like, do you notice how Tony kind of did the same thing Brendan Schaub did, right? Just saying, just kind of same thing. Just thought he was too cool for school and put out a special, and is embarrassed. And I just want to point out, Kill Tony on IMDb is at a 4.9. First episode, 4.9. If you look at all of the big production entertainment things like shows or specials or whatever, Tony has failed spectacularly at all of them. And I know you guys want to deny it, but go find One Shot. Go find it on Amazon. Go find it.
Was basically rejected by
It could be on Amazon. I haven't looked there. But I'm saying, go find it.
everyone, including Amazon Prime. And so the fact that they all have comedy specials on Netflix now is very interesting, because Kill Tony recently had their first episode stream on Netflix. Apparently it's one of 3 that will be on there, on top of a comedy special that he landed as part of a deal, which is absolutely insane. But when it comes to the Kill Tony episode, it was a complete flop for Netflix standards. I mean, it was almost as bad as Joe's comedy special, and to me, it felt like the most regular Kill Tony episode, but worse.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that later today too. You know what? He watches, man. This is all stuff I covered. I'm just, never mind.
I mean, everyone was tense. Joe Rogan and Tom Segura added absolutely nothing to the show, and it was mainly Shane and Kyle carrying the whole thing. In my opinion, it was bad. I mean, it would be like if Joe Rogan straight up uploaded an episode.
Dude, that episode is your dessert tonight. You know why? Because all of us that took the heat, I took a week of a shitstorm. Everything, I was called every name under the sun. They attached my name to causing every war, every famine, everything that's happening in this world. They named it. I would love to have showed you the YouTube moderated comments. Good Lord. So you guys, you endured this with me. So tonight, we dine in Valhalla. No, I'm just joking. I always wanted to say that. Did you ever watch the Vikings show? I always thought it would be really, really, really brutal to have to jump out of one of those boats and just start fighting with axes and swords. But they're crazy. And you want to say, right, that humans aren't crazy and horrible people, but people used to just roll up on a motherfucking boat, jump off, and run at you with axes and just huck your body to pieces. It's hard to trust people.
Of his podcast on Netflix, and the only difference was the high quality 4K cameras that they used, which I would argue for Kill Tony is a little bit distracting. Now, of course, there were some funny moments, but the episode being on Netflix,
did you hear that? He just said everybody was ugly. Did you hear that? Damn, that was a subtle art. What would you call it? The subtle art of telling you to go fuck yourself. That's what he just did right there. That was smooth. You gotta appreciate it.
Kind of felt pointless. It didn't really add much value, and it wasn't even a great episode for YouTube standards. And what's really funny but also messed up is that according to Joe List, Netflix told him that they don't do comedy specials at clubs, which is absolutely insane because, of course, Kill Tony was shot at the mothership, but also Brian Simpson's recent comedy special on Netflix was also shot at the mothership. And so it doesn't sound like they don't want comedy specials shot at clubs, and instead they simply want comedians that are close friends with Rogan, because they know that if they're friends with Rogan, if they're part of the Rogansphere or part of that ecosystem, you know, it definitely helps when it comes to promoting the special. And so it's a win-win for both of them. And by the way, don't forget to like the video. It helps out so much, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Funny guy. Hayden Church doesn't get his due. He's on Tires, apparently. He's on the new season.
Oh, that's right. I heard that. I'm excited about that. Tires.
Soder
has no role. That makes you feel better.
Wow, that is interesting.
He's like, I'm not on there. And I was like, okay. So we can all. It's almost smart. If you have a TV show, you take your best buddy who showed you the ropes and took you everywhere under his wing. Don't put him on.
That's a great point.
And then nobody can be upset they're not on the show.
We've all had the feeling, you wake up one day on a Saturday, scratch your ass going, why am I not on Tires? I know Gillis. I got to protect our parks. We've gotten drunk. I've eaten his ass. I can't get a Netflix spot.
Well, he might have seen your acting reel. But
that's true. It ain't pretty.
But for me, I mean, I don't get it. I'm Timothy Chalamet over here. I'm what's his name? Lee Strasberg over here.
Well, that's your problem. No one knows who that guy is, but you got a couple of school films under your...
Oh, yeah. I'm doing another one. I keep committed because I want to be an actor, Jerry.
Yes, thespian.
So people, they go, hey, I wrote a short film. I got a budget of $8, and I wrote a script. If you have a full script, you send it to me. I'm in.
Yeah.
And then I commit, and then I reread the script, and I'm like, oh, boy. This is a real clunker. I'm not saying any movie in particular. Luckily, I'm in like 3, so everyone can think it's the other person.
Sure. I'm thinking 4th of July. Was that the one?
Yeah, well, that one we could have done a second draft, probably. What can you do?
Well, they're shooting this movie at the Cellar.
And look, to be completely honest, I'm not too familiar with Shane's and Dan's friendship or relationship going way back. But from what I saw and going off of Joe's comments, it sounds like he's talking about how Dan back then was the one who brought on Shane Gillis onto the bonfire for the first time. And then Shane became a regular. And since back then he was pretty new in stand-up comedy, it obviously helped him out a lot. And I don't think they're coming from a bad place. And instead, I feel like they're simply saying what everyone else in their circle has been saying or thinking, because I feel like it is a pretty big deal. It's not like how back then Bert Kreischer didn't really include any comedians on his movie because back then everyone kind of knew what was going to happen with that movie. But in this case, when it comes to Tires, because it has been proven to work and it is Shane Gillis, I mean, he has been blowing up and everyone likes him. I feel like that would have been a great opportunity for a comedian to advance their career. But also,
wait, but this is another paradox here. This is when your friend gets successful for being talented, and then he's blowing up. Like, all these guys want to latch on to Shane, just like they all wanted to latch on to Rogan when they found out how successful, and they still do. They also want to latch on to Shane, and it's this thing where if you're the successful person, you are always given this task, or you're told you should be expected to bring everyone with you. And it's like, yeah, to a certain point, but you have to realize that Shane is also beholden to Netflix, his contract, the shareholders, whatever. And this is the paradox here. And Shane has to produce something that pleases and produces and most definitely profits them. Now, Shane realizes that these people aren't funny, but Shane still has the thing where, well, they did help me. But the thing was, Shane was talented, and in putting him on your show made you look good too, because you brought someone. It boosts your credibility. And if Shane was just, a light was just shown onto Shane at any point, Shane would have blown it. It could have been that podcast, could have been that podcast. Once Shane was giving any platform, Shane was going to succeed because Shane is funny. And back then, that's when he was better, I think, because he wasn't influenced by this whole world. So here's the thing. Shane can do whatever the fuck he wants. I know he should help his friends, and he should when he can. But when he is on the line, he has to pick the best talent, because he has to produce results or he loses it. And then there ain't nothing for nobody, because friends felt like, no, you go make your own success. I have some friends, but you don't ask them for money. Now, if you do something in business, you got a contract, get your money. But look, at the end of the day, you are responsible. People can help you, but if you show up every day and you're ready to perform, you will see you will be ready for your moment, right? And Shane did that, and he was ready for his moment. And he got failed on Saturday Night Live, but he still kept showing up, and now look at him. Now, if some of those people put a little more time into their comedy to learning what's funny, to learning what the crowd likes, instead of all that time they spend whining about what they didn't get from somebody else that really doesn't know them shit. Not like I have to compromise my business to help you out. Why would you expect that as a friend? Isn't that crazy to put those expectations on somebody? And if you're helping anybody out, why are you expecting anything in return? If you expect something in return, get out the contract, sign it, that. So what kind of friend are you? This comes down to for both sides. And it's a lose-lose situation. You know what you got to do? Do what's best for you. Because if Shane compromises and loses his career, then what? It's just silly. It's silly, all these crazy expectations people have. They put on people they don't know, people they do know, their family, their boss, themselves. People put crazy expectations. And if we just chilled out, we might be able to see that we could all do things on our own and stop expecting people to do what we want.
So yeah, I'm curious to see what you guys think, because it might not be a big deal since technically Shane was never that guy. He would never preach being that guy that would help everyone out and cared about other comedians, even if he does behind the scenes. But when it comes to Andrew Schulz or Tony, it is a little bit different. And also I did notice something similar with the Kill Tony episode, because at the end it says created by Tony, but no mention of Redban, which I thought was really odd. But also on top of that, having Tom Segura and Joe Rogan on the episode again was absolutely useless. It was pointless.
Let me tell everybody, because right now, as of this moment, Kill or Be Killed is out now. It's on Netflix. It's a special episode of Kill Tony. We were both at that and participated in.
Yes, we did.
Some way I participated in sitting there. And like, they were just
that
like,
counts.
Yeah, they were like, just don't, I don't know, just react.
Yeah.
Watch the show. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just sit on stage, and then
I'm not sure if that happened because it was a requirement by Netflix. Maybe it was a whole bundle, since Shane and Tom also have shows coming up on Netflix soon. Or maybe it was simply Tony not wanting to give somebody else a chance and instead just one of the biggest comedians on that episode, which once again, it was absolutely pointless. It was useless, and it would have been a lot better if Tony simply had actual comedians on the panel, on the table, actually adding to the show and not just sitting there quietly. That would have been a lot better for the show, but also for the comedian. And so, in my opinion, those are the things that kind of show when a comedian isn't looking out for others and instead is just looking out for themselves. Now, to be fair, I guess, how do you balance wanting to be successful and wanting to make all the money in the world, and also wanting to give someone an opportunity and take the risk of having them on your show, which I would argue nothing is worse than having Tom Segura and Joe Rogan just sitting there quietly the whole time.
The only thing they really care about is the stand-up.
It's the only thing. It's the only thing that matters.
The rest is just cake.
Yeah. I think stories are cool, however they're told.
This special life was full stories almost from start to finish. A few bits, but almost story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when we were coming up, the younger comics don't know this as much, but when we were coming up, there's going to be 8 people that get half hours this year. Mm-hmm. Are we going to be one of the 8?
Right.
And if we weren't, it was like, well, they didn't deserve it. Now it's...
What helped me with that is the who's going to get passed at the Comedy Store, and I would get mad. I'd start to get mad at my friends for getting it. And then I realized it wasn't them or me, because some weeks she passed 4 people, and some weeks she passed none.
Yeah.
It just wasn't me.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even get there. Yeah. Especially in our field, there's a lot of like... These are really competitive people and also insecure people in our field.
You see people going off publicly. It's a new hackiest thing. And you want to be like, bro, what are they doing? They're not stealing from anybody. I'm sorry they're not as good as you want them to be.
We had it buttoned up.
Yeah.
For like a 5-year run. There was like a 5 or 6 year run, and I think it was
support or be quiet.
And I think it was literally like,
you know what might be one of the reasons that they got away with what they did for so long is because everybody was having such a hard time surviving. Like COVID broke like most of the world, or at least in America, we didn't get support. It was just like, you lose your jobs, figure it out, and I think a lot of people just have woken up and they're not taking shit anymore. And it's crazy how these guys are kind of upset. It's weird. I mean, this is what happens. It's like watching things change from one generation to another. But in the fame world, your time comes and then it goes.
Like when you went on Rogan, you became famous. And it was a 5 or 6 year run where everybody was on such good behavior, whether they agreed with the benevolence and they want to support it, like I hope we feel, or whether they were like, I want to be on good behavior and not piss these people off because then I won't get it. But it didn't matter. It worked.
By the way, it spread from there.
And people were supportive. And if you weren't supportive, you would look like a loser. Like you were like,
hey, we're all
is
cool
this
here,
asshole?
man. We're all being cool here. What
You're
are
just
you doing?
gonna shit on people? Like, what do you offer by shitting on people?
Yeah.
And you can feel it creeping back.
Yeah.
And I think it usually comes
what
from
is that? What do
no
you
hope.
think?
Comes from no hope.
It's some successful people who have hope.
Success is determined by, unfortunately for the bottomless pit people, where they are
But compared to where they want to be?
where someone else is.
Right. It's comparison.
There are people that can sell out arenas, but if somebody is doing 2, that's the only thing they can focus on. And it's like, and it's so sad.
Now, when it comes to Ari and Andrew, it is odd that somebody like Ari, who can be brutally honest with Bert Kreischer, cannot do the same with Schulz, because there was a lot of things that he could have called out. I mean, he did technically bring up the fact that his special was mostly stories and not a lot of bits, but it wasn't in a negative way. And in my opinion, that was what made the special such a disappointment, because it was him leaning more into the Bert Kreischer style of jokes and storytelling. But then when they start having this deep conversation, trying to figure out why comedians are so mad and publicly trashing each other, that's when things don't make any sense. And it's so stupid that at first I thought it was a bit, but then when I saw that they were serious, I couldn't believe it. I mean, you have Andrew Schulz and Ari Shaffir complaining that other comedians publicly trashing each other is somehow bad and lame. Like, what are we talking about? That would be like if Steve-O got mad and was complaining that the UFC allowed people to hurt each other. That would be like if Joe Rogan was mad that Austin was full of hippies. It doesn't make any sense because that's their thing. That's exactly what they have been doing for the past however many years. It's insane.
I think it's getting crazy. The thing is everybody. I think society has gotten to a point where we just don't admit what we really are, and everyone wants to believe that people are generally good, and maybe they are, but the thing is people are generally looking out for themselves, and the things that society and the leaders and the thought leaders and the marketers of our world have done has promoted selfishness. And so we also look at how they, as they are supposed to be example, we look at how they act, and you see that everyone at the top is just as corrupt as everybody they say is, and they're just getting more money than everybody else. And that's how it is. So generally, because we just keep promoting this throughout history, we have almost ingrained it into humans that we must be incredibly selfish. And it's like, have you ever played video games, right? I play a game called The Finals, and there's a ranked feature, and the ranked game is called Cash Out. And what you have to do is you have to go fight, and you have to get the cash box, and then you have to take it to the cash machine, and then you have to guard it until the timer runs out, and whoever has control of the cash machine as the timer runs out gets that money, right? But the thing is in the game, before you learn, everyone wants to play solo, and you always just die over and over again. But when you start to work as a team, you start winning some of those cash outs and you get money, and then you go on to the next round or you win the game. And it's the same in life. Like, we don't all have to agree about everything. We could all be critical, But if we could all agree on a few things that generally benefit humans, and I would say things that help our health, help us be at the best we can to fight the environment we're in, stuff like that, stuff to help, each other benefit. And I'm not just saying just tons of regulation. Regulation isn't always good. I'm saying things that make people move forward. Solving food problems, stuff like that. All this ideological stuff we talk about, but we can't. And so this is what the Rogansphere has become. It's just become a micro representation of society. And it sucks because I think it is worth sacrificing some of ourself and our own interests just to make a better world. Because when everybody is doing good, if the guy that makes your food, to the guy that builds the houses, to the guy that put electricity, to the person that makes your clothes, if all of those people are doing good, all of the things they're doing are so much better because they feel better. And then everybody wins. I think in an ideal society, everyone winning is good, but I just have no faith.
There are people that can sell out arenas, but if somebody is doing two, that's the only thing they can focus on. And it's like, and it's so sad because it's like, whatever, regardless of what you believe in, it's like.
Probably know people on the top 10, top 20 earners list who are pissed about their position on it. I'm like, you're in the top 20. It's the over $1 million a year and you're mad at your placement. Not even, I want more money. Your money's fine. You want them to be just below you.
No, actually, that's the most important thing. They don't want more money. They just want that other person to be making less.
Right. So if it's them make more, great. If they make less, also great.
It's pure bottomless pit.
We got it.
No, here's the thing, though. When you are ultra rich, right, and you could see this is where Joe Rogan switched. When you could look at Bert Kreischer. Didn't he make something like over 20 million plus $30 million on his tour? When you're making that much money, unless you're just Mike Tyson, just going through cash, you could never spend that amount of money, right? If you're set. And he didn't just earn that 1 year. He's earned that multiple years. So you could imagine he has no want for anything. Same for Joe Rogan. When you can have anything money can buy, basically, then there's nothing left. And now it's all about power, status. You wonder why the elite have all these status rules, because it's those rules that they judge each other again. And when they have clear and defined etiquette, how you behave, how you talk to people, how you dress, where you have access to, those are rules established by the elite to judge other elite. The same as all these other rules. So it's all about status, and those elite people are all fighting for power and just a little edge. Yeah, to you, it's one place up, but to them, it's one place down, right? So they all have to do that, because when you're at the top, all you have are those little games, because money's been taken off the table. Well, each one of you doesn't matter. Your money doesn't matter. You have so much of it. It doesn't even matter. Now you have to play the game. That's why rich people have all these games, because that's how they have some form of control in a world where money doesn't even matter. It's not even in the equation, because it's like, yeah, everyone has so much money.
Guys, chill.
Dude, but and then it gets rewarded, because negativity is obviously rewarded on the internet, because we all have these, the fear is what moves things in society, like whatever we fear, we see. And, but it is a problem, man.
I mean, there's no way that two of the edgiest comedians in recent times are really that soft and sensitive that they can't handle all the comedians finally speaking out and saying what they actually feel about them. But also, instead of talking about why they might be mad, why not focus on the actual criticism? Especially if you're on a podcast, why not talk about it instead of just dancing around the subject? Because in my opinion, the reason why people are quote unquote mad or hating is because of the fakeness and the switch up once everyone became rich. For example, with Joe Rogan, before he used to be ruthless and would call out anyone on his podcast, and at some point back then, he even publicly executed Carlos Mencias' career for stealing and being a bully. But then, when his friends got accused of the same thing, he went quiet. And when it comes to Andrew, well, pretty much the same thing happened before. It was everyone got these jokes, and all the guests on the podcast were getting trolled and messed with, and now he's pretending like he's the nicest person out there that would never say anything negative about another comedian. Keep in mind that back then, it was actually Brendan Schaub, the one who showed Andrew to Joe Rogan, and so technically, thanks to Brendan, Andrew Schulz got on the Joe Rogan podcast. So pretty big deal.
And Brendan's like a really great dude. He's a genuinely sweet dude who helps people. He's the reason I got on Rogan. Like, he was like, yo, you got to get this guy on. This is before anybody was looking at my shit. Like, and that really changed my life. So he's actually a great dude. And he's just getting destroyed by that thing.
But funny enough, recently he was on a podcast tour and even went to LA and did radio, but did not do The Fighter and the Kid. Why? How come a comedian like Andrew, who wants to help out others, why isn't he helping out a young, struggling comedian like Kellen? I'm kidding, of course. He wasn't going to go on the podcast, but if he wanted to, that is a good way to help out the show, which is struggling.
And Rogan's great at that, though. Everyone's like, he's right wing, he does this, he does that, but at the same time, like, he puts on open micers. He literally props up the lowest of us. People aren't paying rent, and he goes, "No, I got to have them on." Oliver Stone, you can't come on this week because I'm full with this open micer I just saw who did something funny.
Yeah, and listen, don't get me wrong. It is incredible that he's able to do it, and like, there's a thing. It's like, I wish that every single comic that was like, "Hey, can I come on Flagrant?" I wish I could have.
But that's the problem too.
But yeah, the problem is just like, all right, well, unfortunately,
it's limited.
There's one episode we do a week.
Yeah,
and then. Yeah, unfortunately, that's the case. But listen, maybe I would be pushing more benevolence if I did just make it this avenue for comics to get some exposure for their specials coming out. Like, maybe that would work better. Maybe it would fill my soul more. I don't know. But I also have to be like, okay, well, are there other people that I committed to talking to?
It's also now we have 4 or 5 specials a week. And you're like, I literally can't do all of them.
I guess I'm trying to call myself out a little bit for saying this one thing and maybe not doing it to the perfect extent, but it is a little bit different in that regard. Yeah. But I rack my brain about like, okay, well, what can I do even if I can't have them on?
You can post for them.
Maybe I can post for them.
There's so many avenues of helping now.
Exactly. Like, there are other avenues of help, and I try to be as kind as I can and help as many people as I can with whatever.
Advice.
But it is something that I've kind of noticed is like that like bitterness that existed in the 90s. That
creeping.
It's not creeping. It's
so many of them are doing it.
But it comes from, in my opinion, it comes from just a lack of. There's 2 versions. There's like bottomless pit people who are just always going to be bottomless pits, even during the good times.
That's their happy place, actually.
Maybe, yeah. But like, there's nothing you can do about it. But the other version, I think, is like where it just doesn't feel like there's hope. When there's hope. And I think that was the excitement with like the early YouTube version, the early clips, and then obviously Rogan. Like, I think for young comics, I imagine the only way they think that you could pop off right now is if you get that Kill Tony.
Now, the whole idea that Andrew wishes he could have more comedians on the podcast is absolutely insane, because unless I missed it and he sold the show and no longer calls the shots, then it doesn't make any sense because it's a comedy podcast hosted by comedians. Why not just have a comic on the show? Is it maybe that whenever a comedian goes on the show, Andrew Schulz gets completely outclassed and trolled and made fun of? Because if we take a look, for the past 7 months, they've only had 2 comedians on the show. David Smith, which was more of a political episode, and the British comedian. And so it is pretty wild. But in my opinion, and we have mentioned this before, what likely happened was that because Andrew was trying to get away from being seen as an edgy comic in his recent rebrand, he avoided having any comic on that would potentially call him out or disagree with him, and instead focused more on positioning the show to be more of a political talk show. It really feels like.
Well, here's the thing. Andrew is trying to like switch who he was. It's like, like just say you're a pretty conscious guy, right? You got your job, you got your finances in a good spot. You go to the gym healthy, you eat pretty good, your body's okay, you're generally pretty healthy. and you've been disciplined like this, and it's gotten you to this place, right, where you're pretty stable and you're doing pretty good. Yeah, life has hiccups, but you know, you got some money saved, like you're doing okay, right? And then, you know, you have this friend who has been partying since the day college started. You know, when you all lived together, that dude just partied while you went and studied at school all night. And then you went and you applied for your new job, you put in your time, you know, whatever, you got promotions, and you're at the point you're at because you just stayed disciplined. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks ago, your friend decides that, wow, partying has ruined his life, and now he's just this transformed guy, transformed person, and everywhere he goes, he's just preaching like, you know, I just really had to look inside myself because, you know, the world around me, and I just really learned who I am, and it's made me such a better man. You know, you should try meditating with your legs crossed and looking up at the night sky. I swear it will change your life. I just see some things in you, okay, and it's like, bro, what are you talking about? I've kind of had my shit together for 10 years now, and you just figured this out 2 weeks ago. It's kind of like that. It's just like unbelievable. Like, what? Bro, we know who you are. It's just crazy. And I just don't believe it. He's trying to act like he's just this reform. Like, look at the way he's sitting there, like, just like, oh, I'm so empathetic and compassionate because I've figured out the answer to life. Well, the answer to life is there is no answer. You know? There is no answer. And it's not 42. You know? So let's go.
His goal every time when he does a podcast is not to make his friends laugh or the audience laugh, and instead the whole goal is to hopefully make headlines or have a clip go viral when talking about politics. And it does make sense because ever since the Trump episode, they haven't had many comedians on the podcast, and if we take a look at the numbers, it's very clear that back then they had their first bomb from the Joe Rogan appearance, which was massive, and a lot of the audience actually stayed because they continued to have good episodes. And then for a while, things started to slow down until they had the Trump episode, which was a massive episode. But the point is that he chose to lean more into the politics, which is fine.
Hey, you notice these people are relying on that Social Blade analytics? It's good tool to put in your videos when you want to put some facts out there.
But then he contradicts himself when he says that he wants to help out comedians while having the perfect platform to do so, but using it to talk about everything except comedy. It doesn't make any sense. And I feel like that's why a lot of comedians like Nate Bargatze get a lot of respect from other comics, because they don't need to do all the gimmicks and all the tricks like having a massive podcast and going viral for being an edgy comic, and instead they just focus on the comedy.
Well, I was talking to Nate about this, and he goes, we used to have something to aim for, Letterman, Leno, and we'd aim for a Tonight Show that actually mattered. People listening at home aren't going to understand this. It like mattered and it really helped. And then that kind of went away, and Nate's like, I want to create an avenue where even if you don't get it, you can aim for this. My old storytelling show was like something I could aim 100%. For to like, and then if you fall short, you're still ahead.
But there's a thing you're going, I've been thinking about this. Like specifically with, also it's great that Nate's thinking about that. Like even to just think about younger people and wanting them to succeed. I was thinking about this like with New York specifically. I'm like, what is the thing that a young comic here can do to get on? Podcasting is no longer the thing where like you do one episode, you're a famous person.
That's done.
That's done.
Yeah.
And so there's this part of me, it's like the same kind of feeling with Nate. It's like, I want to create a property. Like I love that Kill Tony gives so much hope to comics. Like they're like, if I get on that, people are going to see it. Maybe I become a regular and then I can tour.
You know what I was thinking?
I want to create something for New York specifically where comics here go, oh shit, I can get better with the best comics in the world because there's no question the best are right here. And also have hope that I can build my career here because it's not just clips anymore. And I see comics and they're like, but I got to do crowd work. First of all, you don't have to do anything.
You don't have to do anything. If it's for you, it's for you. If it's not, I talk to comics about this. Like, I don't do it. Like, then don't.
Don't do it. But
your thing will come around.
Do something.
Right.
This is the thing where it's just like, there's a little bit of this that's coming with the bitterness. There's a little bit of this culture of like trying is gay.
That's Shane's whole That's his whole aesthetic.
But he
Trying is gay.
First of all, I don't agree with that because he makes really amazing shit.
No, but he goes, I won't use good lighting. I won't. Trying is gay is his aesthetic.
Well, I don't want to feel like that's a shot at Shane because I think that he does like amazing.
No, he's promoting that.
But my suspicion is with that is that like
he's lying.
No, I actually think it's like my suspicion is I don't want this to get too big. The podcast. I'll put tons of effort into the things that I want to be huge and explosive, but the podcast is dangerous. Like imagine, look at what he went through initially with a podcast.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. This is my thought on this. Just do it. So many people spend 20 times the amount thinking, worrying, not doing, right? They spend all that time when if they just would have went out there and done it and figured out what it's really like, they wouldn't have to wonder, worry anymore. They would know. And sometimes you just have to do that. And I think the problem with these guys and this whole like trying to decide where comedies go and like, I have to leave my mark somewhere on society, whatever, just go do that thing. And if other people do that thing, all those things you could do for each other will line up. We don't have time to worry, folks. We need to just do. It is. And these guys are just, if you guys were doing, you'd stop criticizing each other and bringing each other down and talking shit on podcasts. Just go do it.
One clip could have cost him the thing that he always wanted.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
But I do think that like looking at that and going,
it's an aesthetic style. It doesn't mean trying is gay. It's like don't act like you're trying and like look at I've done all this prep work. Even like roasts, like little ones will be like, I didn't prepare for this. And it's like, yes you did. Yes you did. You're lying because trying is gay.
We all try.
Yeah.
No, I think, then I fundamentally disagree with that.
And now this is when things get very interesting because, of course, Andrew Schulz already has a massive platform that he could use to help out other comedians, smaller comedians, younger comedians, whatever, but doesn't. And instead, he likes to fantasize about what it would be like if he built something bigger to help out more comedians. It doesn't make any sense. And so to me, it seems like as soon as he heard that Nate's had some plans to help out other comics, it turns out that he also had been thinking about that the whole time. And it kind of reminded me of that Louis C.K. bit where he's flying first class on a plane and then a soldier boards the plane and he thinks about switching seats because that would make him a really good person, but doesn't. And then at the end, he still feels good just for thinking about it, just for having the thoughts. And it does feel like it's kind of what Andrew did. But also, when it comes to helping out younger comedians, in my opinion, I don't think they need another platform or more exposure. And instead, they need to get better at comedy. And I feel like one of the best ways to help would be to get them to get away from that Schulz mindsets. Because Andrew has basically become the Gary Vee of the stand-up world. And if making it in business is already hard, I mean, the chances of doing what Andrew did or what Tony did are pretty much zero. It's impossible. And so instead, I think it would be better if he was more relatable, like Louis C.K. when talking to comedians. And
here's the thing you have to know about Andrew Schulz. I'm gonna tell you this is 100% fact, 100% fact, and it could be based in he has to protect his family. He has to make sure they survive. He has to provide a future for them, blah, blah. Or it could just be pure greed. I think there's a lot of greed in it as well because you have to. If Andrew Schulz is suggesting or thinking about something, it's because he sees money in it. And I'm not saying that's different from everybody, but don't sit there for 1 minute and believe he wants to help people out. He saw that Netflix paid Tony whatever amount. It was probably I don't know. I didn't look it up. It was probably a pretty good amount of money, to put his show on Netflix. Andrew saw that and he said, I want to make a Kill Tony in New York for New York people. And I bet you there might be a Kill Tony New York, but with Andrew's thing, they all steal from each other. Humans steal from each other. Art steals. It's just what happens. And that might happen. But listen, I know this is true of Andrew because you know why? because Andrew changed his entire personality, everything he is, and he did a 180-degree rebrand on himself. And if a man is willing to change who he is, his personality, and how he communicates to the world for money, you better believe everything else he does in life is for money too. Because if he doesn't even value who he is and is willing to sell that, then you better not trust a goddamn word from that guy. You better not trust a word from that guy. You're just asking for trouble.
Reach hard for this one, but I'll say that if comedians like Schulz really wanted to help out smaller comedians, they would stop doing arenas, because hear me out. When you do an arena show, you do one massive show and have the openers do one show and that's it. But if they did a stupid amount of theater shows or even clubs, you could really start giving a lot of comedians a lot of opportunities. Imagine if you wanted to get in shape and work out and you had two options. You could work out once a week in the biggest gym ever, or daily in a local smaller gym. I mean, not everyone needs to be on a late night TV show or sell out arenas. They just need gigs. I feel like there's a ton of talent that shouldn't have to wait in an alley in hopes that they'll be on Kill Tony and hopefully Tony likes them. That's kind of what Joe Rogan was always against when it came to Hollywood auditions.
When I just needed to just work again, and sometimes just comedy clubs, there is this fear when you're up there. If I ever had to just go back to the funny bone, sitting next to the soda machine as it out into the room, the smell of fried food, I may just have to kill myself if I go back. But I got back there and I was so happy. I loved it because I just loved telling the fucking jokes. And I'm closer to the crowd. And the money you make as a stand-up selling out a comedy club over a weekend is ridiculous. It's that it's close to my that's enough point. Is just, I mean, they give you the whole door and it's insanely good money. So money wise, I was like, I can live on that. And then make it,
and the fans pay less, which is something that's important to you.
And then when you make, and then when you get little bumps, like, hey, I'm back in the theaters. This is so fun. Didn't know if I'd be back in the theaters, but it's just doing the work was plenty. I don't miss that shit at all. Being the mountaintop. A mountaintop is a place you visit. You don't live there. You don't live in a tent sucking oxygen. It's actually not fun up there. It's a goal. But it's not a life. It's a place to visit, and it's a place to be seen from miles around, so you can collect. I have fans now from a lot of different places. I have fans all over Europe. I play all over the world because of the opportunity I was given by those people. And
that's cool. I think too that fans, there's opportunities to sell merchandise and stuff. But I'm a believer that like 75% like of the stuff that you put out, it should be for the fans and make it, it's what I like. I like sharing this stuff with people that like talking about it. Basically, I'm just like a trashy tabloid. But listen, trashy tabloids are fun to read, and I know you guys like trashy tabloids, so we're just we're making our own little thing. It's fun. It's fun.
Hollywood to get up high, but now they're with me. I was smart enough to collect them on my own to find a way to get directly to them.
Did you do that?
I don't miss being like shit red carpets and being on lists and that kind of stuff.
I think comics are too self-aware to enjoy that.
To enjoy that stuff,
that like red carpet treatment.
A lot of them love it. A lot of them love it. Some people need that. They like that's their indicator that they are live. That's their indicator that they're doing something. I think that's sad. That's not sustainable, and it's also not based on you. It's based on a trend. I got a lot of attention that I didn't have coming to me. I'm proud of the work I did, but it was like, are you kidding me? When I saw comics looking at me going like, dude, enough. I agreed with them. I'm like, I'm sure you were. It's just like it was enough already. And it was like, oh, you don't want to be that guy.
Right.
Well, when I met you was.
I think so too. It's you become like really obnoxious to people. And there's a difference in like, hey, you just disagree. We're different people. We're used to different things or being around. You're used to being around more conservative not open people. I'm used to being around people that blurt everything out and loud. And then when we come together, you know, it's not like that kind of difference. It's just like when you're really, there's some things with humans that just kind of ring true throughout everybody. And when you're really just being a crazy, like, I have this success, I have this fame, I love myself, like everything I do touches gold. I think a lot of success, I think the success on YouTube that I had, like, sure, I put in work, but dude, out of billions of people, it's luck. A lot of this stuff is luck. And can you capitalize on that luck? Can you keep getting lucky? I think a lot of success is luck. And my rhythm is just like, well, I'll just put videos out every day so that I at least have an option 365 days a year of getting lucky. Right? And that's how it is. But I wouldn't say, yo, on the fame. And I guess that comes back to working hard too, but it's just luck and determination. I think people say to you when you're trying to do something, maybe sometimes people are justified, but people always say, you won't make it. You've only get this far. You won't get much further than you are. But those are people that aren't trying, you know, or that people that gave up, I think, because you just got to keep going. No, people are always going to try and put you down, tell you you're stupid. And that's fair. And that's nothing for you to worry about. And it's really nothing for you to blame that. You can either use it to benefit whatever you're trying to do, or you just ignore it, right? It's just how people are. But don't give up on yourself, right? Don't do that. Just keep going. People are always going to try and put you down. And I'm not saying that like that's because you're better than them. That's not true. It's just the nature of people. Everybody gets jealous. Everybody just doesn't like you and doesn't want you to succeed. That's how it is. But for your own sanity, keep going. I don't even know how I get to most of where I'm going half the. I'm sorry for that rant. That one was, I don't even know where I started.
That's what I'm saying. Point. There was a 5 or 6 gap, 7-year gap.
Commercials before, yeah.
Where there was.
Also, I'd like to say that these guys practice that too, because they're getting a ton of shit specifically from me, right? And they do the same thing. What are you supposed to do? Just stop? You know, I don't know. No, you just got to keep going.
Nothing happening.
I do remember that.
When I met her.
How were you making money?
Just doing really terrible road dates, getting like.
Oh, yeah, you hated the road.
Yeah, the guarantee. You know, like I would fill half the room, right? So I would just get the guarantee.
I remember when a good weekend was like 7-8K. Remember that?
Yeah, that was a good weekend. Like I would call and go, oh my God, I can't believe I made this. You know what I mean?
85% of your listeners like, that's so good. Yeah. What the fuck are you talking about?
Wait, who is?
You have to understand that a lot of these comedians, like back to my point that we make all these videos, make them look like just because someone made a video of you or a post of you doesn't mean you're bad. And these guys are smart. Their PR teams are smart. They have other people that come and comment and troll and keep it going. And they use that because like, okay, let's say you have a video and someone's mad and then you purposely troll them in the comments to keep them coming back and, or maybe making them angry enough that they keep following you or they make a video and clip the comments and then post it so that they try to make you look bad, but it doesn't. Because people will make up their own minds. But the thing is, and why these people, I think, create a lot of these controversies, because I've covered stuff and there's controversies daily with these people. And I think they create these controversies that divide people and make people talk bad about them, make people talk good about them, because any PR is good PR. And so I think part of with the internet is these people, when you're a content creator, you also have to, or someone famous like this, is you also have to learn the art of trolling and leveraging all of that bad audience to your favor in some way. Because if you don't, it's just bad stuff that you're gonna get no matter who you are and what you do, right? So I was just thinking about that. It's just, you really have to learn to take that bad audience because you can't stop it. People will hate you instantly. And so you have to troll them so they spread the word of your name, whether it's good or bad, and just let it happen. These guys let it happen. You know, we make these videos and they don't care. You're talking about them. They don't care. Just because you make a video doesn't make it true, you know? Like people worry, oh, he posted this about me. Yeah, so? Everything posted isn't true. And that's why these guys don't care. Oh, you say that, but you're saying my name. You mentioned this special. You mentioned this episode. People are going to go check that out. That's how it works. Hey, but you know this. I like getting stoned and ranting.
What? All your listeners like, that's so much money. What do you mean?
I know.
Yeah.
But comparatively speaking to
So
my
that would have been
peers-
your time to take off?
And so I think comedy should be back in the clubs, or if you do massive venues and arenas, have it be a massive event, like an actual special event, and not just doing stand-up at an arena. And so once again, in my opinion, whenever another comedian hates on someone like Andrew Schulz, Tony, or even Ari, and maybe Shane, you let me know what you think in the comments below. Whenever they hate on a massive comedian like that, it's usually because of the unnecessary change, because of the money. Again, we saw that according to Louis and Bobby Lee, whenever comics sell out clubs, it's really good money, like a lot of money. And because now we can see what they've been working on for the past couple of years, you know, Andrew Schulz has his comedy special on Netflix, Ari Shaffir does as well, and Tony just released his first Kill Tony episode on Netflix. And he also has a comedy special coming out. And so far, it's not looking good. And so to me, it seems like they were simply going for the money, even if it meant changing the comedy. Now, to be fair, that's more about Ari and Andrew, because when it comes to the Kill Tony episode, it was the same style of comedy, except that it wasn't that good of an episode for Netflix standards.
This is my estimate.
Well, you have to, yeah, of course. Look, people 9 times out of 10 people will sell out for money, and I know it gets a bad, like, he's a sellout. He's 9 times out of 10 most people are sellouts, and most people would sell out. Very few. And look, it's not necessarily honorable to not sell out either. That just is what changes. Like, it's funny, humans, we have this like pride and this like code of ethics, and we will never take any money or anything to stick by this value. But most of the times people take the money and don't stick by the value. They sell out that value for the money. It's funny that way, right? That's how it is. Just look at our government, right? Law? What's that? You know? So it's just funny that people think that way, but the way I see it, because it doesn't really matter to me, is they're just doing what's best for them, which is what anybody else would do. That at the end of the day, that's it. Now, what's best for them may be self-interested. It may sell out a bunch of people. They may have to sell themselves out, their personality, their values. But at the end of the day, you can't blame a man. If you get offered 15 million, what are you going to be like? Nah. Maybe if you got 50 million, you could be like, nah. But if you're working as a comic in a club and then you work to get to this point and then finally your big payday comes. I mean, not saying that he wasn't making money, but when you get a Netflix check, that's not like, that's a lump sum. That's not like work over a couple of 5 years. That's a hi-ya, and probably way more than all of those years combined. When you get that opportunity, are you going to say no? No, most people wouldn't. So you got to look at it that way. You have to look at it that way. If you want to look at it, that's both sides of the coin there. It just, I just think, I don't know. I can't say what the right move is, it's like, and then you look at fans and like, what do you do? Who do we owe what to? It's just what makes life hard. It is.
Whenever I see bitterness, I assume it comes from lack of hope, like lack of potential opportunity, right? Like I don't want to name certain people that people were upset about, but I saw some people being upset about somebody's success, and I was asking Mark Gagnon and some of the other guys, and I was like, "Are you hearing this?" They're like, "Yeah, a lot," and I'm like, my knee-jerk reaction was more, we need to find something where these guys can come up in here. Because when they see someone else get success and they start being upset at it, it's because they don't feel like there's an avenue.
Yeah.
And not everybody is going to go shoot their own thing or clip.
Yeah, and when you're way bigger, you don't care if somebody gets passed at the cellar. You know, when you've done Madison Square Garden, you lose that, like, what? They're in it. This.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, good for you, man.
It's the weirdest thing about this is like the people that treat you like shit on the way up in comedy, the second you pass them, you have no animosity towards them at all. Yeah. It's crazy how that goes away.
Some low-level hurdle.
Yeah, and they were dealing with their shit.
That's the thing, too. When you look back at like Comedy Central never booking me or whatever, you're like, oh well, I kind of sucked.
Yeah, it's like, or it's like you had a job, you didn't want to lose it, like.
And so once again, it's not that people are mad or jealous or feeling hopeless, because I feel like there's a lot of opportunities out there, and instead they're simply calling out the fakeness and the massive switch when everyone got rich. For example, when it comes to Andrew, he used to call out everyone and engage regardless of what it was. And that is kind of what made the podcast unique, because if you remember back then, he wasn't afraid of asking Brendan Schaub about the truck walk. Then there was the Fresh and Fit episode, and also the whole situation with Steiny. But nowadays, Andrew makes it a point to not address the haters. It's almost like he thinks that just naming one person will make them successful. It's insane. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe to support the channel. Dislike if you didn't like the video. But that is all we have for today.
There you go, folks. Here's my opinion. The Rogansphere turned into exactly what it stood against years ago. It has become the same. It has become the dictator of comedy. It dictates the rules. It allows who it allows in. It allows people on the comedy mothership. The comedy mothership is just another way to control it. And then that club goes to Redban. They basically control whatever happens in Austin. Like all these different clubs, they're all in. And it's wild. And they have become the very thing that they once spoke out. And that is just how history continues to go all the time. It is just what it is. It is what it is. Once you remove leader, you inevitably replace it with a similar leader, just doing the same thing in his own way. Same thing, different costume. And that's what it is. And you know what happens when you become the same thing that everybody was fighting about? They treat you like that. And now you are the target of their frustration. You are the person that causes all their misery because you created the system that you once dismantled only to rebuild it in your way. It's crazy how that happens. But that, folks, is history, and no matter who or what has graced this planet, it has always kept going on in that order from generation to generation. Good night.